Tonight on NewsWatch, 2 Athens County school districts are asking residents to approve tax levies on the ballot. Plus, turn back the clocks. Daylight savings time ends this weekend. And in sports, high school football teams across the area face off in week 2 of the playoffs. NewsWatch starts right now. Good evening, I'm Andrew Bowlby. Welcome to NewsWatch. Some teams across the Southeast Ohio are continuing their journey to Canton, while others have fallen short. Joining us live with more on tonight's matchup is the host of Gridiron Glory, Grayson Wolf. Seems pretty chilly out there, Grayson, but what teams do you expect to be on fire tonight?
Andrew, you're throwing a lot of cliches at me, but you're right. The playoffs are in full swing, which means the play on the field is certainly going to heat up. 15 of our teams are still alive in the playoffs, and 8 of them will be highlighted on the show in just a few hours. Cade Wolford and Jackson welcome in Bloom Carroll to Alumni Stadium for our game of the week. This is the 4-5 matchup in Division III Region 11. Wolford is a home run threat every time he touches the ball, whether on the ground or through the air. His brother Bodie also starts at quarterback. To hear more about those two, Ethan Sargent has a special story on them and their dad tonight on the show. The Bulldogs are a serious threat, though. They beat Athens handedly last week, and they're playing their best ball of the season at the right time. Jaden Ball is an offensive lineman and a top 8 candidate for our Player of the Year honor. He paves the way for Dylan Armentrout, who scored 2 times last week, and keeps quarterback Ethan Thantanabon clean in the pocket. Galley Academy at Sheridan is certainly also Game of the Week worthy. The Blue Devils come in with Kenyon Franklin leading the offense, with brothers Hunter and Hudson Shamblin doing their part as well. The Generals took down Morgan last week in round 1 of the playoffs, and their defense is the key to getting them the win and move on to the regional semifinal. Waterford hits the road to take on Beaver Eastern. The Wildcats are the 7th seed in Division 7 Region 27, but the 2-seeded Eagles might have a chink in their armor. Eastern is the 2 seed despite being undefeated, as the 1 seed in Region 27 is Reedsville Eastern, who has a loss on the year. The computer suggests that Beaver Eastern hasn't had many tough wins throughout the regular season. Tri-Valley comes off their Week 11 win over Buckeye Valley to play at Granville. This is the 6-3 matchup in Division 3 Region 11, and Granville is unbeaten. It's an uphill battle, but running back Jaden Wallace and quarterback Max Lyle will be the 2 guys for the Scotties that will look to keep up with the Granville offense, who put up 53 points last week. And finally, Wheelersburg is back at Ed Miller Stadium. No one would have thought that before the last week, but after Portsmouth's incredible upset win, the Berg heads home. Speaking of those Trojans, they'll lean on Chase Highland again, who was running all over Fairland's defense last week. Get this, he ran for over 300 yards in that win, but this Berg defense is known for shutting down great backs.
Only 8 teams on the Showtime rundown tonight, Grayson, but which teams will highlight the digital rundown for tonight's show?
Yeah, 3 7-4-0 teams in the digital rundown, and 2 of them have home games. West Muskingum is the 1 team on the road. They face Harvest Prep, who is one of the best programs in the area. The Reedsville Eastern Eagles, who were mentioned earlier, have a date with Monroe Central tonight. The Eagles are the 1 seed and should hold serve at home. And our 3rd game highlights Zane Trace in Region 20 as they take on Purcell Marion. On top of all that, I'll reveal the final 5 lists for Gridiron Glory's Season 24 Player of the Year. So stick around right here on WOUB at 11:30 for Episode 12 of Gridiron Glory.
Thanks, Grayson. Try to stay warm out there tonight. And now joining us is our forecaster, Cam Kuzno. And Dad's weekend's coming up. You got football Friday night tonight. What can we expect from the weather this weekend?
Well, this weekend we're going to see temperatures start to get cold, and we've seen a lot of these temperatures begin to get colder and colder as we move on into November.
More on my full forecast, but now we'll take you back to the desk.
Thanks, Cam. 2 Athens County school districts are trying to pass key levies this year. The Athens City School District is asking voters to approve a $24 million bond issue. The district wants to replace the current high school with a new $58 million high school building. If approved, residents in the district with a home value of $200,000 would pay $154 a year for the new school starting in 2025. The Alexander Local School District is also asking voters to renew a 1% earned income levy. The levy's income makes up roughly 11% of the district's budget. It failed 5 times before passing in 2019 by just 1 vote. If the levy doesn't pass, the district has 2 more tries before it expires in 2025. With Election Day fast approaching, NewsWatch has all the things you need to know before heading to the polls. Tune into Ballot Watch 2023 for special coverage of this year's races. And on election night, check out WOUB.org and on our social media for results. Senator Sherrod Brown is proposing an expansion of a program to get more local food into schools. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Farm to School program helps schools purchase, serve, and teach students about local foods. The bipartisan bill would increase the program's funding from $5 million to $15 million a year. It would also give more money to projects and make it easier for organizations to apply for funding. Daylight savings ends this Sunday, and as we fall back this weekend, a new resolution by Ohio lawmakers is urging Congress to make daylight savings time more permanent. The Sunshine Uniformity Act would permanently transition the U.S. to daylight savings time. State Representative Rodney Creech says the switch would increase the hours of sunlight in the evenings year-round and combat some mental health illnesses linked to darker winter evenings. The resolution will now move to the Ohio House floor for a vote. The time to change can be challenging for some, especially those who have Alzheimer's disease or dementia. Mandy Gaither has more on how the symptoms of sundowning as the time changes.
It's time to fall back, but the changing time can create confusion called sundowning. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The Alzheimer's Association says it's also important a person living with dementia get plenty of rest and to spend time outside in the sunlight during the day if possible. Coming up after the break, a new report shows employment growth slowed last month, but officials aren't too worried. And Thanksgiving is in 3 weeks, but when is it a good time to buy this year's food essentials?
And it has been cold, especially in the nighttime hours. Are we going to get any relief from that, or is it just going to keep getting colder? I'll tell you all about it, my full forecast after the break.
Tonight on NewsWatch, auto workers on the picket line, how the strike could affect the U.S. economy. Plus, Hurricane Lee is making its way closer to New England. Could we see the effects? NewsWatch forecaster Emily Dietz has the latest. And in sports, we're halfway through the high school football season. Gridiron Glory host Grayson Wolf breaks down tonight's games. NewsWatch starts right now.
Good evening. I'm Morgan Anderson. Welcome to NewsWatch. It's Friday, and on Friday nights, there's nothing better than some high school football. Joining us more with this week's slate of games is the host of Gridiron Glory, Grayson Wolf. How's it looking out there, Grayson?
Well, Morgan, I'm out here at Eastern High School for our game of the week, and we are about a half hour from this highly anticipated matchup. We have reached the halfway point of the regular season, and there is no turning back now. High school football is in full swing, and Gridiron Glory has you covered tonight with 5 Showtime games. Waterford is here at Eastern for our game of the week. Last year, these two teams met twice, once in the regular season and once in the playoffs. The Wildcats won both matchups on their way to a TVC hockey title. Jake Panelidis was their all-state quarterback from a year ago, but is now graduated. They now rely on the likes of Xavier Heiss and Dylan Taylor as they look for their 4th win of the year. Now, the Eagles have dealt with injuries so far in this young season, as both the running back and linebacker rooms have been run thin. But head coach Jason Jackson is confident in their depth. Tyler Hill last week had a 300-yard, 4-touchdown performance in a backup role after their top 2 backs went down. Should be a good one tonight in Reedsville. Sheridan hosts John Glenn tonight in a battle of unbeatens. Quarterback Caden Sheridan has been the key to the Generals' offensive success, with Justin Munyon behind him as the feature back. The Little Muskies are anchored by their defense, giving up just 34 points so far in 4 games. But Sheridan will be by far their toughest test yet, a great early season matchup in the NBL Big Division. Megs at River Valley is the opposite of our game previously mentioned. This matchup features teams without a win. The Marauders scored 42 points in a Week 3 loss to Cold Grove, so they'll look to replicate some of the things from that game. Both teams have faced stiff competition, so a great chance for both squads to get that first W tonight and a conference win at that. An OVC battle in Gallipolis this evening as Galley Academy welcomes in Portsmouth. The Blue Devils are coming off their first win in conference play over Chesapeake, while Portsmouth beat Rock Hill in overtime a week ago. The Trojans will look to slow down the Gallia offense, but it's a tall task, as that offense has scored 30 points in each of their first 4 games. In our last Showtime game, Warren at Fort Fry. It's just the second game in TSL history as the Cadets look to continue their undefeated season. Clayton Miller is the focal point of the Fort Fry offense, and if the Warriors want a chance at the upset, it starts with stopping number 5. Warren is looking for their first win since week 1, and this is the Warriors' first conference bout of the year.
Grayson, talk about a great lineup. Are there any other games we need to look out for tonight?
Morgan, the action does not stop here. We have 5 digital games tonight. Jackson hosts Ross in a non-conference battle before running the FAC gauntlet. West Muskingum, coming off their Game of the Week victory, hosts Philo. Paint Valley and Westfall meet and will also be at Piketon as they host Zane Trace. So we'll have 2 SVC matchups tonight. And finally, Portsmouth West and Waverly are meeting tomorrow night. But Aiden Crowley will be on the show tonight to preview all of that. There's so much to cover tonight, so be sure to stick around on WUB for episode 5 of Gridiron Glory at 11:30 tonight and follow along on WUB.org. But for now, I'm going to toss it back to you, Morgan.
Thanks, Grayson. It sounds like an action-packed night. As pre-game events continue across the region, one school district is opening a brand new athletic field house in a multi-purpose center. Right now, the Dawson Bryant local school district is hosting a ribbon-cutting ceremony celebrating the opening of their new facilities. The celebration began an hour and a half ago at LeMaster Stadium at Cold Grove High School. After the public has toured both new buildings, they were encouraged to stick around for dinner and tonight's football game. Joining us with more on the weather you can expect during tonight's games is lead forecaster Emily Dietz. Emily, it's been kind of chilly lately. We got Friday night football. What should we be bringing, and maybe what can we expect too?
Yeah, we're expecting some really nice weather. I know I've always enjoyed Friday night football games, a slight chill in the air, especially September, We're just starting to get into that fall weather, but tonight we're looking for some clear skies, so it's going to be a really good game. You might just need a light jacket if you're planning on going to support any of your local high schools. Now we're going to take a look at our future forecast right now. We're going to see on this map some temperature and also some rain, but the good news is you can't see any rain on this map, which means we're going to have some clear skies tonight on Sunday for us. Back to you, Morgan.
Thanks, Emily. Encore Industries in Cambridge is closing permanently. The shutdown is expected to be completed by November 12th. Employees were made aware of the closure Tuesday through a layoff notice. The notice stated the plant had 89 employees and some could be relocated to another plant or receive severance. The Cambridge-Guernsey County Community Improvement Corporation say they are working with local officials to discuss the closure and get more details from local plant leadership. The Ohio Attorney General's office is announcing a new task force to examine the future of police training in Ohio. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost says the old curriculum known as the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy is being dismantled. The Future of Police Training Task Force is taking steps to replace it with new technology, techniques, and courses. The task force will be chaired by the Assistant Executive Director of the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy, who is also the former Columbus Police Chief. Ohio legislative leaders are unable to come to an agreement on who to chair the Ohio Redistricting Commission. The commission canceled their meeting today. The panel is supposed to have Ohio House and Senate maps approved a week from today. A spokesman for Senate President Matt Huffman says communication is open and they're confident this will be resolved with plenty of time to approve new maps. If you live near Parkersburg, you can soon check out a new trail. The Parkersburg Ohio River Trail will soon be open to the public. The $1.5 million project is an extension of the current trail that's a half-mile long in Point Park North. The extension will add 2.6 miles and will end south of the Grand Central Mall at the city limits. The official opening date has not yet been announced because there is still more to be completed before it opens to the public. Coming up after the break, what effects might the auto workers' strike have on other sectors of the economy? And flu season is just around the corner as RSV and COVID cases rise in the U.S. How you can tell the difference if you get sick this season.
We're seeing a cold front and low pressure system start to develop out towards the west. What that means for you and more when NewsWatch returns.
A crucial week of negotiations with the nation's 3 unionized automakers ends with workers going on a strike. This was the scene in Toledo last night after the deadline for the United Auto Workers Union to reach a deal passed. You can see workers leave at the Jeep assembly plant begin picketing after the midline deadline passed. they're not alone. Thousands of auto workers across the country are also joining the strike. Ivan Rodriguez reports on the potential ripple effects to suppliers and local economies.
As the clock strikes midnight, workers walk off the job at the Ford Assembly plant in Wayne, Michigan, a GM plant in Wentzville, Missouri, and the Stellantis assembly plant in Toledo, Ohio. Targeted strikes designed to hit profit centers at all three automakers.
This strategy will keep the companies guessing, and if we need to go all out, we will.
Part of the United Auto Workers Union's demands include an immediate 20% raise, followed by 4 additional 5% raises, restoring cost of living increases, and retiree health care coverage for all hires.
I'm not greedy. I just want to make sure that my family is provided for and make sure that we can eat, bills paid.
So far, Ford has offered a wage increase of 20% during the life of the contract, which the company called generous. GM also offered a 20% increase, and Stellantis 17.5%.
I'm very frustrated because I think we had an offer that resonates with our people.
President Joe Biden backed the UAW on Friday, sending senior advisor Gene Sperling and Deputy Secretary of Labor Julie Su to Detroit to assist with the negotiations.
The bottom line is that auto workers help create America's middle class. They deserve a contract that sustains them in the middle class.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
The U.S. economy is facing another headache. In addition to the United Auto Workers Union strike and ongoing inflation concerns, the threat of yet another potential government shutdown is looming, and the deadline is getting closer by the minute. If a deal isn't made by the end of the month, the government will have to close its doors. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says a deal will be made, but not everyone is as optimistic.
Through this budget debate, let's get through the spending, the shutdown, which is going to happen, and then we'll see.
The White House wants Congress to pass a short-term measure while negotiations continue, but the GOP doesn't seem inclined to do that. A government shutdown will start October 1st if a new bill isn't passed. Hurricane Lee, a Category 1 storm, is approaching the U.S. East Coast. The National Hurricane Center says Lee is sustaining winds of 80 miles per hour. As the storm inches closer to the Atlantic coast, communities are prepping. But not all residents are battening down the hatches. Laura Aguirre has more on Lee's path and what's ahead.
This is what you get. When you live in New England, you get storms, and it's like a northeaster, so we ride those out.
A ferry full of coastal storm veterans heading toward Nantucket this weekend, where Hurricane Lee is expected to deliver high storm surge, winds, and flooding in the hours ahead, and concern is rising among many New England emergency managers.
If this was a winter storm, it would be almost run-of-the-mill, but because of the weather we've had all summer and the status of where we are in the season, we're a little more concerned about it.
We're worried about the flooding and the high surf and the coastal erosion and, of course, the power outages.
Forecasters predict hurricane-force winds and the heaviest rain in Maine through Saturday. And with tropical storm conditions threatening much of the neighboring states, most boat owners aren't taking chances.
I'd say it's better to be safe and get your boat out of the water and have a boat to look forward to on Monday.
We start at 6 o'clock in the morning and go till the boys run out of steam. Been doing like 22, 23 boats a day.
For commercial fishermen, the stakes are even higher.
Whole livelihood, everything you got is sitting on that mooring out there.
And if someone runs into trouble offshore,
we're getting our crews that operate those heavy weather boats ready to go for this weekend.
Reporting for NewsWatch, I'm Laura Aguirre.
Joining us again with more information on Lee and how it's affecting our weather is lead forecaster Emily Dietz. Emily, I know we're in Ohio, the Midwest, but are we going to see anything from this hurricane up here?
Yeah, well, fortunately for us, we're not going to see anything from this hurricane. We're not expecting to, because we're actually protected by that cold front that moved through earlier this week and some high pressure. And if we take a look at our radar right now, we are actually going to take a look at the forecast, or that radar, that's showing Hurricane Lee. So you can see those really developed circulation going on and those rain bands.
Thanks, Emily. The start of fall is next week, meaning flu season is just around the corner. And while illnesses like the flu and RSV tend to start spreading in October, the U.S. is already seeing some sicknesses starting to tick up. Manny Gaither has more on how to help identify viruses if your child gets sick.
The symptoms are similar, so if your child gets sick, it can be hard to know if it's COVID-19, the flu, RSV, or a cold. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
After the break, how you can get travel deals this fall. And for the latest from NewsWatch, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Fall is almost here, and when it comes to air travel, prices are falling fast, especially international flights, according to travel experts. Jen Sullivan has a look at tips to find great deals on flights.
Airfare is falling this fall, and travel experts say now is a great time to book air travel, especially if you're looking to travel abroad this autumn and beyond. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
When we return, a new sign is welcoming visitors to Ohio. But first, here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station. Finally tonight, drivers on their way into Ohio will soon see a new sign welcoming them. The Ohio Department of Transportation announced 36 new signs will be made and installed at major entry points of the state. The sign will say, "Welcome to the heart of it all." The total cost of the signs is just under $60,000. The 36 signs will be made at the department's sign shop in Columbus and installed by their crews as well as some contractors. All the signs are expected to be installed by December. Now we're going to hand this one over to Emily for a final look at our weather this evening.
Tonight we're expecting some chillier temperatures. It's going to be low, about the 45 with some clear skies. We don't have those clouds out tonight to provide that layer of insulation that keeps all that daytime heating in. So we're going to see those temperatures pick up throughout the week.
Thanks, Emily. That does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. For Emily Dietz and Grayson Wolf, I'm Morgan Anderson. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org or follow us on social media. Have a great night.
Tonight on NewsWatch, a dangerous heat wave has some Southeast Ohio communities reaching near record highs. NewsWatch forecaster Emily Dietz has the latest. Plus, how community members are keeping themselves and their animals cool. And funds going to communities suffering from opioid addiction makes its way to Southeast Ohio. NewsWatch starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Ariel Lyons. Welcome to NewsWatch. All of Southeast Ohio and Northwest West Virginia is under a heat advisory. NewsWatch forecaster Emily Dietz is live outside at Stroud's Run State Park with the latest. Emily?
Good evening. I'm here at Stroud's Run, and things are just now starting to sprinkle a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of cloud coverage, but just a few minutes ago, even a few hours ago, we've seen tons of people here at the beach taking out kayaks, taking out boats, trying to find a way to beat the heat. And I might dip my feet in the water here in just a minute. But right now in Athens, we're seeing temperatures around 92 with a heat index of about 102. And that humidity is just going to continue to go up.
Emily. And as dangerous heat continues to swelter the area, people across Athens County are finding ways to stay cool. Here in the city of Athens, people are trying their best to make the most of the sunshine, whether it be visiting local public pools or relaxing with a cold drink. The people of Southeast Ohio are working hard to cool off. With several record temperatures broken over these last few weeks here in Athens, everybody has their own unique way of beating the heat.
I've been swimming quite a lot with some of my friends have pools, so I've been going there. That's really nice to cool off.
I just got back in the pool actually.
Tanning, it's a good option.
The plug that you use your phone to turn on, so it's nice. I can, as soon as I leave work, I can turn my AC on and go home to a nice, cool apartment.
With a severe weather advisory currently in effect for Southeast Ohio, with the heat index in the triple digits for certain parts of the state, many continue to find new ways to still enjoy summer festivities without getting too hot while outside. The Vinton County Fair kicked off on Monday in what is shaping out to be one of the hottest weeks of the year. NewsWatch reporter Morgan Anderson is live at the fair with more on how the heat is affecting people and animals.
Thanks, Ariel. Right now it's 87 degrees, but feels like 95, so it is hot. This kind of temps haven't happened since 1930 for Vinton County. I talked to some of the fairgoers to hear what they had to think about it.
From panting chickens to kids working in 90-plus degree barns.
We are constantly putting ice in their waters and spraying the backs of their neck.
Everyone and everything is just trying to find a way to beat the heat.
Luckily for the kids showing at the Vinton County Fair, the last thing on their to-do list is the livestock sale tomorrow night. Reporting for NewsWatch, I'm Morgan Anderson, live at the Vinton County Fair.
Thanks, Morgan. And it's not just Southeast Ohio feeling these hot temperatures. Around 150 million people nationwide are under heat alerts. That's about 45% of the U.S. population. The extreme heat threatens the nation's largest power grid and millions of lives. Mike Valerio has the latest.
Access to cooling is a matter of life and death.
Life-threatening heat now striking the Northeast.
New York City is now under an excessive heat warning.
In Northeast states where many places aren't built to beat the city's record-breaking temperature streak.
Reporting for NewsWatch, I'm Mike Valerio.
Coming up after the break, the Supreme Court rules the Mountain Valley Pipeline can continue construction. Plus, the One Ohio Foundation is providing funds to help communities struggling with opioid addiction.
Temperatures are increasing across the country, and we're looking at a chance of rain this Saturday. Stay tuned to NewsWatch to figure out how this will impact you.